The rain hammered the tin roof of the rusty spur like a drunkard's fists on a locked door. And in that storm-lashed moment Juliet whispered, "I'm straight, Brielle. God help me, I am." Her voice cracking like thunder over the flatlands of Georgia. But her fingers, warm and trembling, slipped into mine under the scarred oak table, lacing tight as if the world outside could flood in and wash us away. I felt the lie in her grip before I heard it in her breath. The kind of hold that doesn't ask permission, just claims what's been starving in the shadows. We'd only met that afternoon, in the sticky heat of Monroe's annual harvest fair, where the air smelled of fried dough and regret. I was Brielle Harlan, back from Pittsburgh's steel-gray grind to bury my grandmother in the red clay she'd clawed her life from. Juliet was the golden girl of this forgotten bend in the Chattahoochee River, daughter of the mill owner who'd shuttered half the town but kept his name etched in marble at the Baptist church. She was 29, with a laugh that cut through the humid haze like a switchblade, and eyes the color of creek water after a flood. Murky, pulling you under. I'd wandered the fairgrounds to escape the suffocating wake, the ants in their starched dresses murmuring about my city ways, and the ring I never wore. Juliet found me by the cotton candy stand, her sundress clinging like a second skin in the downpour that chased everyone else inside. "You look like you could use a sugar hit," she said, thrusting a pink cloud my way, her smile all teeth and no apology. We talked for hours as the sky split open, about the mill's ghosts, the way Pittsburgh's rivers ran black with memory, how she'd studied literature at Emory but come home to play the dutiful daughter. She was engaged, she admitted over lukewarm beer at the Spur, to a man named Harlan, coincidence that twisted like kudzu, some accountant from Atlanta who promised stability in a town built on shifting sand. But that hand, under the table as the jukebox wailed Tammy Wynette about standing by your man, her thumb traced circles on my palm, slow and deliberate, like she was mapping a route she'd never dared take. The bar was half empty, locals nursing whiskeys and nursing grudges, their eyes sliding past us like we were just two women weathering the storm. I didn't pull away. Why would I? In that grip was the ache I'd carried since I was 16, sneaking kisses in the back of my daddy's Ford with girls who swore it was just practice. Juliet's touch wasn't practice. It was a confession carved in flesh. By midnight, the rain had eased to a murmur, and we stumbled out into the gravel lot, her arm looped through mine like we'd been friends for lifetimes. "Drive me home," she asked, not waiting for yes. My rental car smelled of new leather and old grief, and as I navigated the winding backroads toward her family's estate on the river's edge, she kept talking about her fiancé's safe hands, the wedding and 6 months at the country club where her daddy's money bought forgiveness for everything but this. This being the way her knee brushed mine at every stop sign, the way her breath hitched when I glanced her way. The Harlan house loomed like a faded queen, white columns sagging under Spanish moss, porch lights flickering against the dark. She invited me in for coffee, but it was tea sweet and scalding, poured in the kitchen where generations of women had scrubbed floors and silenced secrets. Her mother was upstairs, doped on pain pills after a fall, her father in Atlanta, brokering deals that kept the town afloat on credit. We sat at the island, steam rising between us like a veil, and that's when she said it again. "I'm straight, Brielle. I've always been." But her foot hooked around my ankle, pulling me closer, and the mug trembled in her hand. I don't know who moved first. Maybe it was the thunder rumbling distant, or the way the clock ticked like a heartbeat skipping beats. Our lips met soft at first, tentative as strangers at a wake, tasting of chamomile and the salt of unshed tears. Then deeper, her hands in my hair, mine on her waist, the world narrowing to the creak of the stool and the gasp she swallowed against my mouth. It lasted minutes or hours. Time dissolves in those stolen breaths, and when we broke apart, her eyes were wild pupils blown like storm clouds. "I can't," she whispered, but she didn't let go. Not then. The next morning, I woke in the guest room she'd insisted on, sheets tangled around me like accusations. Sunlight slanted through lace curtains, painting the floorboards in gold stripes, and the house hummed with the quiet industry of a place holding its breath. Juliet was gone, off to the florist for wedding samples. A note said in her looping script, "Breakfast in the fridge. Don't think too hard." I did though. Poured coffee black as the river at dawn, replayed the night in loops, Her mouth on mine, the way she'd arched into the kiss like a bowstring released. Straight, she'd said. But bodies don't lie like words do. I spent the day wandering Monroe's veins, the boarded-up Main Street where my grandmother's dress shop had stood, the bridge over the Chattahoochee where kids still jumped on dares, daring fate like we all did. By evening, Juliet texted, "Fair tonight." Come? No question mark, just command. The harvest fair had spilled into a second night, lanterns strung like fireflies over the midway, the air thick with funnel cake grease and diesel from the rides. I found her by the Ferris wheel, arm in arm with Harlan, tall, bland as Wonder Bread, his laugh a salesman's bark. She spotted me and froze, then waved me over with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Brielle, this is Harlan," she said, her voice bright as shattered glass. He shook my hand firm, complimented my northern grit. Oblivious to the current crackling between us. We talked weather, weddings, the mill's rumored reopening. Small talk stitching us into normalcy. But under the picnic table, as fireworks cracked overhead, her hand found mine again. Squeezed once hard, then held on through the oohs and ahs of the crowd. Harlan droned about tax brackets. I nodded, pulse thundering in my ears. She didn't let go until the finale faded, and even then her fingers lingered, brushing my wrist like a promise. Later, in the parking shadows, she slipped away from him with an excuse about a headache. "Walk with me," she murmured, and we did. Down to the riverbank where willows wept into the current. "This is insane," she said, lighting a cigarette with shaking hands. Smoke curled between us, a fragile barrier. "I love him. Or I think I do. He's safe, Brielle. He doesn't ask questions. And I do." She laughed, bitter and low. "You don't have to. Your eyes do it for you." We sat on a fallen log, the water lapping like whispers, and she told me pieces. The pressure of being the Harlan heiress, the church ladies who eyed her like a prize heifer, the one girl in college she'd kissed at a kegger and buried deep. It was nothing, she insisted. A phase. But her hand was back in mine, and this time I turned it over, traced the veins like rivers on a map. "Phases don't feel like this," I said softly. She pulled away then, standing abrupt, cigarette stubbed under her heel. "I have to go. He's waiting." But at the car she kissed me, fierce, fleeting, tasting of ash and desperation. "Don't tell," she breathed against my lips. As if I would. Secrets are the currency of towns like Monroe. We trade them like Confederate bills, worthless but heavy. Days blurred after that. I extended my stay, claiming loose ends with the estate, but really it was her. Pulling me into stolen hours. Mornings in the attic, sorting my grandmother's letters while Juliet snuck up with coffee, her laughter muffled against my shoulder as we read aloud faded valentines. Afternoons driving the backroads in her daddy's old truck, windows down, wind whipping confessions from her throat. How Harlan proposed with a ring too big for her finger, how the wedding felt like a noose disguised as lace. Evenings at the Spur, nursing beers while her hand found mine under the table, a ritual now, her thumbs caressed the only prayer she dared. But the town watched. Whispers slithered through the diner, past the beauty parlor where scissors snipped gossip as sharp as judgment. "That Harlan girl's too friendly with the Yankee," they'd say, voices low but laced with venom. My aunts cornered me at church, Bible verses about Sodom dangling like threats. "You're stirring pots best left cold, Brielle." I smiled, nodded, but inside the churn grew. Juliet's war with herself spilling into mine. One night after a bonfire at the edge of the Harlan land, locals toasting marshmallows in Harlan's promotion, we slipped away to the barn, hayloft creaking under our weight. Her dress pooled like moonlight, and we moved slow, exploring with hands and mouths what words couldn't name. "This is me," she gasped, body arching into mine. "This is the me I've hidden." Dawn found us tangled, her head on my chest, heartbeat syncing with the rooster's crow. For the first time she didn't say she was straight, just held on. Yet doubt festered. Harlan noticed the distance, his calls turning sharp. "What's eating you, Jules?" She lied smooth, blamed pre-wedding jitters, but the ring on her finger glinted like a handcuff. My own ghosts rose. Pittsburgh flings that ended in ghosting, the ex who called me confused before vanishing. Was this just another phase for her? A rebellion against silk gloves and silver spoons? The breaking came midweek, at the country club luncheon her mother hosted. Crystal clinking. Ladies in pastel discussing debutantes and deficits. I wasn't invited but Juliet texted. Need you. Back gate. I waited in the azaleas, thorns snagging my jeans until she appeared, makeup smudged, eyes red from tears she wouldn't shed. Daddy knows, she said, voice a wire pulled taut. Not about us. About the doubts. He says if I back out, the family's ruined. Mill reopens on his word, Harlan's firm bankrolls it. We drove to the river, tires spitting gravel, and parked where the current roared wild. I can't lose everything, she cried, fists pounding the dash. But I can't marry him. Not now. I pulled her close, her sobs soaking my shirt, and for a moment it was just us, two women against the flood. Then don't, I whispered. Choose you. She lifted her head, eyes fierce. And you? What if I choose wrong? Then we learn. But choice isn't clean in Monroe. That night, Harlan called her phone while we lay in my motel bed. Sheets rumpled from urgency. She answered, voice steady as she lied about girls' night. I heard his laugh tinny through the speaker, trusting blind. Guilt twisted in her, sharp as barbed wire. This is betrayal, she murmured after, tracing my collarbone. Of him. Of them. Of God. Love's not betrayal, I countered. Hiding is. She didn't sleep after that, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, while I drifted to dreams of escape. Us in Pittsburgh, rain-slick streets and no judgments, building a life from bricks not bound by bloodlines. The wedding loomed, invitations crisp in my mailbox like summons. Juliet pulled back. Text sparse, touches fleeting. Space, she begged one afternoon in the truck, her hand withdrawing like burned. To think. I gave it, wandering alone. The fairground stripped bare, the Spurs jukebox silent midweek. Loneliness settled heavy, a fog off the river, and I wondered if I'd imagined the depth. The way her eyes softened only for me, the promises etched in every stolen glance. Then the call came 2 weeks before vows. Her voice shattered glass. Meet me. The bridge. I raced through twilight, heart slamming like pistons, and found her leaning on the rail, ring glinting in the dying light. I told him, she said, words tumbling. About us. Everything. Harlan had raged. Called her confused, a phase, threatened to pull funding from the mill. Her father echoed it, Bible thumping on oak desk. This town's no place for your sickness, girl. She held out the ring, diamond catching fire. I gave it back. Relief flooded me hot and sudden, and I crushed her to me, kissing salt from her cheeks. We're free, I breathed. But freedom in Monroe tastes of ash. The next days were frenzy, her packing a duffel in secret, me booking tickets north. Whispers turned to shouts. Church petitions, aunts pleas, Harlan's cold stare at the gas station pump. On the eve of departure, we met at the Spur one last time. The table between us scarred deeper now, initials carved hasty. Her hand found mine under it, grip iron. Scared? I asked. Terrified. But she smiled, real and raw. Worth it. As the clock struck midnight, rain starting again, she leaned across and kissed me, public, unashamed. Heads turned, murmurs rose. But she didn't let go. Not that night. Not ever. The drive north from Monroe unfolded like a slow unraveling, the Chattahoochee shrinking in the rearview until it was just a silver thread lost in green. Juliet sat shotgun, duffel at her feet, her fingers drumming the armrest to an old Springsteen tape I'd found in the glove box. Thunder Road, fitting for fugitives with hearts on the run. We'd left at dawn, her mother's Bible left open on the kitchen table to proverbs about wayward daughters. Her father's truck keys untouched on the hook. No goodbyes, just a note. I'm sorry. I'm me. Clean break, or so we lied to ourselves. Pittsburgh welcomed us with its familiar bite. Steel mills coughing smoke into November skies. The Allegheny churning gray under bridges that sagged like old regrets. I had a sublet in Lawrenceville, a walk up above a tattoo parlor where the buzz of needles hummed like a lullaby. Juliet stepped inside hesitant, her sundress traded for my flannel, eyes wide at the exposed brick and the view of freight trains snaking through the valley. This is home, she asked, voice small. For now. I pulled her close, her body fitting mine like a key turned true, and we christened the place slow, Kisses trailing from couch to kitchen, laughter bubbling when the kettle whistled forgotten. Nights blurred into mornings of diner coffee and job hunts. She applied to bookstores and coffee shops, her Emory-lit degree a dusty trophy now. "I want words," she said one afternoon, curled on the fire escape with a battered copy of The Awakening. "Not weddings, but ghosts hitch rides." Harlan called first, voicemails laced with hurt turned to venom. "You owe me jewels. This town's talking." She deleted them, but the weight lingered, a stone in her pocket. Her father followed, sermons disguised as pleas. "Come home, girl. We forgive phases." Forgiveness Monroe style, conditional as a loan shark's grace. Juliet listened once, speaker on, her face paling as he invoked family honor, the mill's 100 souls hanging on her return. "I'm not a phase, Daddy," she said, voice steel. "I'm alive." She hung up, then shattered the phone against the wall, shards glittering like her discarded ring. We rebuilt in fragments. Walks along the riverfront, where barges load like mournful cattle, hands linked open now, no tables to hide under. She laughed freer, her Georgia drawl softening edges against my Pittsburgh bluntness. "You're my anchor," she'd murmur over takeout Thai, chopsticks clinking like toasts. Intimacy deepened, not just bodies but souls, her reading Whitman aloud in bed, voice husky with wonder. Me confessing the scar from my first love's goodbye, a girl who'd chosen safety over storms. "I won't," Juliet promised, fingers tracing the mark. "We're storms together." Yet cracks spiderwebbed. Dreams woke her sweating, visions of the church steeple crumbling. Harlan's face twisted in betrayal. She'd paced the loft, chain smoking out the window, embers falling like fallen stars. "What if I break you?" she'd whisper, dawn painting her silhouette gold. I'd pull her back to bed, bodies entwining to chase shadows, but the fear rooted deep, a weed from southern soil. Winter clamped down, snow blanketing the city in hush, and with it came invitations, my friends, a queer collective from the old days, gatherings in basements with craft beer and queer-lit readings. Juliet went once to a poetry slam in Bloomfield, her hands slick in mine as we navigated the crowd. Tattoos and piercings, couples tangled unapologetic. A poet took the mic, verses about forbidden fruit and family knives, and Juliet gripped tighter, tears silent on her cheeks. "This is us," she breathed after in the alley smoke break. But later in the car doubt crept. "They look at me like I'm straight passing. Like I'm playing." "You're not." I cupped her face, thumbs brushing frost from lashes. "You're here." Spring thought us tentative, cherry blossoms dusting Skinley Park, picnics where she'd feed me strawberries, juice staining lips like war paint. She landed a gig at a used bookstore, shelving Austen beside Audre Lorde. Her smile blooming real when customers lingered for recommendations. "Feels right," she'd say, collapsing home with dog-eared proofs, us tangled on the rug debating heroines who chose fire over hearths. But betrayal brews quiet. Harlan showed up unannounced one April afternoon, suit rumpled from the drive, standing in our doorway like a bad sequel. "Just talk," he said, eyes bloodshot. Juliet froze in the kitchen, apron dusted with flour from pie crusts, domesticity we'd mocked but craved. I hovered, fists clenched, but she waved me off. 5 minutes. I paced the fire escape, city roar below, straining to hear through the window crack. His voice low, pleading. "We were good, Jules. Before her. Come back, Mills saved, your daddy's beaming. This city's just a rebellion." Hers cracked. It wasn't rebellion. It was truth. But pauses stretched, his words weaving silk traps. Promises of forgiveness, a life polished and prescribed. When she emerged, his card in her pocket, her eyes were storm-tossed. "Closure," she claimed, but that night she dreamed of altars, waking with screams that echoed off brick. The fight simmered days, her snapping at small things, my silences growing thorns. "You're punishing me for listening," she accused over cold pasta. "He was my life once." I hurled back. "And now? Am I the detour?" Words flew like shrapnel, old wounds reopening. Her straight declarations, my guarded heart. We made up furious, bodies crashing reconciliation. Breaths ragged with sorries and stays. But the seed was planted, doubt's quiet poison. Summer scorched in, humidity rising like old fevers, and Juliet withdrew. Shifts longer. Evenings lost to inventory. I found the card once, tucked in her wallet like a talisman. Confronted, she flared. Trust Brielle? From the woman who ran south to bury ghosts. Truth stung both ways. We circled warily, touches tentative. The hand under table magic faded to memory. Then the letter came, her mother's script, frail on cream stationery, sick. Come see the garden one last time. Juliet read it alone, then packed a bag silent. Just a weekend, she said, kissing my forehead like absolution. Monroe calls, I answer. I drove her to the airport, Greyhound this time, cheaper, her choice, watching taillights swallow her silhouette. Call, I begged. She nodded, but the phone stayed dark. Days stretched to week, her text sparse, mom's weak. Sting. Panic nod. I paced the loft, Springsteen spinning loops. Friends urged flight south, but pride pinned me, she chose. Until Harlan's email, forwarded anonymous from a mill address. Photos grainy but damning. Juliet at the country club, his arm around her waist, her laugh captured mid-bloom. Caption. Some phases fade. Betrayal landed like a gut punch, breath stolen. I confronted via voicemail, voice steal. Come clean or don't come back. Silence answered, then her call, sobbing, frantic. It's not mom's dying, he cornered me, I didn't. Lies or truths blurred. But the pull was magnetic, Monroe's gravity reclaiming its own. She returned broken, duffel lighter, eyes hollowed. I went to the garden, she confessed over whiskey shots. Rain lashing windows like judgment. Mom's fading, begging reconciliation. Harlan there, spinning webs. I let him hold my hand, for her, for peace. Her fingers twisted mine, now desperate anchor. But I dreamed of you. Every night. Forgiveness frayed thin. We rebuilt slower. Therapy sessions in a strip mall office, her spilling southern sins, me unpacking northern walls. Love's not linear, the counselor said, voice neutral as fog. Juliet nodded, but nights she'd wake whispering his name. Not Harlan's but mine, tangled in fever dreams. Fall leaves turned fire, mirroring the burn. We hiked Frick Park, boots crunching decay. Her hand in mine open, defiant. No more tables, she vowed, tossing a pebble into the stream. Ripples spread, and for a breath we believed. But roots run deep. A call from her father, mill thriving, Harlan promoted, an olive branch. Holidays? For mom. Juliet wavered. Eyes on me pleading permission. Go, I said, voice steady lie. But come back whole. She did or tried. Thanksgiving tales of forced smiles, turkey dry as grudges. Yet in the airport embrace she clung fierce. You're my north. Winter holidays we claimed ours. String lights in the loft. Her baking pecan pies from muscle memory. Us dancing slow to dancing in the dark. Laughter returned, tentative then full. Her reading Giovanni's room aloud. Voice catching on Baldwin's truths. Spring circled again, 2 years marking time. Juliet's book club thrived, queer voices amplifying hers. I climbed ladders at the mill. Irony's gift, forging steel into futures. Betrayal scarred but healed crooked, stronger seams. One evening, Riverwalk sunset, she stopped, hand slipping free to kneel. Not with ring but words. Marry me? Not for them. For us. Tears blurred bridges. Yes, I choked, pulling her up, kiss sealing vows against the current. Monroe faded echo, but lessons lingered. Love defies straight lines, bends under weights but doesn't break if held true. We held through storms, through silences, hands linked, no tables needed. Freedom's not escape, it's choosing every dawn to grip tighter. The wedding we planned wasn't Monroe's spectacle, no lace veils or country club toasts, but ours, carved from Pittsburgh's grit. A backyard affair in my cousin's yard off Polish Hill, string lights tangled in oak branches, picnic tables groaning under pierogies and pulled pork sliders, a nod to her south bleeding into my steel. 50 souls showed, my tattooed tribe, her bookstore misfits, a smattering of aunts who'd softened with time, sending regrets laced with tentative blessings. Juliet walked the aisle in linen pantsuit, hair loose like unchained rivers, eyes locked on mine as fiddle and banjo wailed a queer twist on at last. Vows we wrote raw. I choose your storms over calm, she said, voice carrying on summer breeze. Your hand in mine, under any table, every light. Rings were simple, hammered silver from a local smith, etched with coordinates of that rusty spur booth. We kissed to cheers and confetti popped from recycled fairground streamers, her laugh bubbling free, unshadowed. The reception spilled into dusk, fireflies winking approval, and as we swayed to Coulter Wall's gravel-throated ballads, her whisper ghosted my ear. This is straight? Hell no. This is us. Honeymoon was a road trip. Alleghenies to the Finger Lakes. Motels with neon vacancies and lakesides where we skinny-dipped under harvest moons. Bodies silvered and laughing. No phones, no ghosts. Just maps unfolded on dashboards, her finger tracing routes like veins. We could have ended here, she confessed one night, bonfire crackling, stars pricking the void. If I'd gripped tighter sooner. You did, I murmured, pulling her blanket close. Just took the long way. Back home life layered steady. Juliet's first chapbook hit shelves, poems of bent truths and river runs, dedicated to B, who held when I faltered. Readings packed the shop, her voice steady as she claimed space. Phases aren't endings, they're awakenings. Harlan's shadow crossed once. A wedding gift arrived, unsigned check and a note. Happiness suits you. Let the mill stand. She burned it in the sink, ashes swirling down like absolution. But society doesn't yield easy. Whispers followed even north, old Monroe emails forwarded by concerned cousins, dredging her confusion for clicks in small-town forums. A church lady's blog post went viral local. Prodigal daughter's delusion. Juliet read it aloud over breakfast, voice mocking the venom, but her hand trembled on the mug. They think I'm broken. You're unbroken. I slid the laptop away, pulling her onto my lap. They're the fractures. Her mother's decline pulled harder that fall. Letters pleading visits. Photos of the garden wilting without her hands. Juliet went alone twice, returning quieter each time. She wants to meet you. Before. The before hung heavy, a clock's toll. We flew south Christmas Eve, tension thick as fog off the Chattahoochee. The Harlan house sagged wearier, columns leaning like weary elders, but her mother waited in the parlor, shawl draped and sharp-eyed despite the morphine haze. Brielle, she said, extending a hand frail as tissue. No judgment, just curiosity etching lines deeper. We talked halting, Pittsburgh winters, Juliet's poems, the mill's hum under new management. You saved her, she whispered when Juliet stepped out for tea. From the cage I built. Tears wet her cheeks, and I saw the woman who'd silenced her own longings for legacy. Love her fierce. It's rarer than gold here. Her father lurked distant, nods across the table polite as frost. Harlan was absent, Atlanta-bound, rumor said, with a new fiancé. No bridges burned, just quietly crossed. We left with her mother's blessing clutched like a talisman. A locket with faded photos, her and Juliet as girls, arms linked defiant. New year dawned, renewal. Juliet enrolled in MFA night classes at Carnegie Mellon. Essays blooming bold on identity's thorns. I took a promotion, overseeing crews that welded futures from scrap. Ironic echo of mending hours. Evenings we'd cook collards with perogies, her drawl teasing my accent, laughter filling the loft like light. Yet conflict simmers eternal. A student at her reading cornered her post-event. But were you really straight? Or just scared? Question hung like bait, and Juliet faltered, old scripts rising. Home, she paced. Am I queer enough for them? Or still the straight girl playing? I drew her down, hands mapping familiar curves. You're enough. Period. Summer brought surprise. Pregnancy scare from a one-off ED slip. Panic cresting waves. Tests negative but talks turned tender. Kids someday, she mused, head on my belly. With you? Yeah. Dreams shifted, nursery sketched on napkins, names debated like poems. Autumn's high brought crisis unbidden. Her father's heart attack, mill stress, they said. Yanked us south again. Hospital vigil. Beep sinking dread. His eyes fluttering open to us, hands clasped. Forgive an old fool, he rasped to Juliet, then me. Take care of my girl. No sermons, just surrender. He rallied slow, mill passing to stewards, legacy lightened. Back north, Juliet's thesis dissected forbidden loves. Their eyes were watching God through Sappho's lens. Defense night, she shone, committee nodding to her fire. You've captured the human ache. Reception after, we toasted with cheap champagne, her whisper vow renewed. All in. Winter wrapped us cozy snow-muffling doubts. Friends' weddings dotted calendars, straight vows mirroring ours once, but we danced freer, hands visible, proud. One eve, fire escape perch, city twinkling below, she turned. That night at the spur? First truth I told myself. I kissed her temple, breath-fogging glass. And the grip that started it all. Betrayal's past faded scars, teaching resilience. Society's chains chafe, but love's forged tempers stronger. We held, through highs, through hollows, building not despite the world but because of it. Human, flawed, free. Spring equinox, 2 years wed. Juliet's book launch packed the shop. Rivers unstraightened. Cover a hand sketch under scarred oak. She read the dedication. To the woman who didn't let go. And taught me how. Applause thundered. I stood back, heart full, watching her claim the light. After homeward walk, her arm looped mine. Ready for more? She asked, eyes mischief-lit. Always. Hand in hand, no hiding, we stepped into whatever storm or sun came next. The betrayal that nearly undid us came not from Monroe's ghosts, but from the mirror, Juliet's own reflection cracking under the weight of what we'd built. It started subtle, a fissure in the facade. Her MFA readings drawing crowds that lingered too long, admirers with eyes hungry for the story behind the poems. One in particular, Lena, a visiting prof from NYU, all sharp bob and sharper intellect, latched on during a panel on queer Southern lit. Your voice cuts like kudzu on concrete, she said post-talk, hand brushing Juliet's elbow. Flattery, harmless at first, but Juliet came home flushed, recounting the exchange like a trophy. I smiled over stir-fry chopsticks, pausing. Sounds smitten. She laughed it off, waving air. Just shop talk. But seeds sprout in fertile soil, and ours had been tilled by years of proving, to families, to forums, to ourselves, that we were real. Nights after, she'd scroll Lena's Insta, voice casual. Her take on Hurston's a revelation. I nodded, but the old ache stirred. Echo of Harlan's hold, the pull of the prescribed. Summer swelled humid, even in Pittsburgh's hills, and Juliet's schedule bloated. Guest lectures, revisions, coffee meets labeled collab. Lena's name wove frequent, innocent as thread. One evening, she canceled our anniversary hike. Quick drink with Lena, concept brainstorm. Returning tipsy, cheeks wine-rosed, stories tumbling about theory and tension. She's brilliant, Brie. Sees the fractures I miss. Her kiss that night was fierce, compensatory, but my body tensed, sensing the drift. Doubt is a slow poison, seeping from questions unasked. I buried in work, mill shift stretching, welds glowing hotter under my torch, while she burned midnight oil, laptop glow painting her face ethereal. Whispers from friends trickled. Juliet's glowing lately. New muse. I brushed them, but mirrors lie when trust phrase. The snap came Labor Day weekend, city emptying for beaches, us host to a barbecue on the fire escape, grill smoke curling lazy, beers sweating in coolers. Juliet invited Lena. For balance, she said. Lena arrived in linen shift, wine bottle in hand, settling cross-legged with ease that bordered intimate. Conversation flowed. Politics, poetics, the pair dissecting Baldwin till stars pricked sky. I watched from grill tongs, Juliet's laugh higher. Her knee brushing Lena's accidental on purpose. When Lena leaned in, murmuring something that drew Juliet's head to her shoulder, comfort or conquest? The coal in my gut flared. Nightcap inside, group thinned, Lena lingered. Walk me out, she asked Juliet, eyes direct. They did, door clicking soft, and minutes stretched to 10, my pulse ticking loud in the quiet loft. Laughter filtered up from the street, then silence, then the door. Juliet flushed again, eyes averted. Deep talk, she said, unprompted. I waited till bed sheets cool between us. Truth, Jules. What's pulling? She rolled away, back a wall. Nothing. Paranoia from old scars. But sleep evaded, her breath shallow faints. Days after, the drift accelerated. Text lit her phone at odd hours. Lena's name, heart emojis innocuous. Juliet snapped when I asked, boundaries, Brielle? Or control? Words escalated, old fault lines quaking. You think I'm Harlan 2.0? I chose you. I countered calm, but inside the mill's roar echoed. Steel bending under heat till it breaks. Evidence mounted quiet. A lipstick tube not mine in her bag, faint perfume on collars late nights at the library, with alibis thin as mist. I confronted over coffee, voice level. Lena. It's more. She denied, hot tears first, then fury. After everything? You doubt me. But her eyes skittered, guilt's tell. The gutting came mid-October. Leaves flaming warnings. I came home early from overtime, loft dark but for desk lamp glow. Juliet there, Lena across from her, knees touching, hands laced on the tabletop, lips inches in a kiss aborted at my key and lock. Time froze. Juliet's gasp, Lena's pullback smooth as sin. Bree, she started, but I turned, door slamming echo. I walked the bridges that night, Allegheny churning black below, wind whipping regrets. Betrayal's blade twists deepest when self-inflicted. Her choice to lean, to test the waters we'd dammed together. Dawn found me at the diner, coffee bitter as truth, phone silent. She came at sunrise, knocking frantic, eyes swollen. It was one kiss. Curiosity. Stupidity. On the couch, story spilled. Lena's flattery filling cracks. She sees the poet, not the past. Temptation blooming from validation starved. I stopped it. Pushed her out. But I hurt you worst. Sobs racked her, raw as birth. Anger boiled mine. After Harlan? After vows? You gripped her hand under our table. Irony bit, but pain overrode, trust thread snapped, fraying us both. We separated rooms that week, her on the futon, me in bed staring cracks in plaster like maps of ruin. Friends mediated. Talk or lose. Therapy resumed, sessions raw as open veins. Her admitting the pull of easy queer. Lena's world unscarred by South, no baggage. Me voicing the terror of losing anchor. I gripped because I feared loose, she wept. But you're my hold. Rebuilding was excavation, date nights enforced, hands held deliberate across diners, poems she wrote as penance. Forgive the slip, grip eternal. Lena faded, blocked, a panel skipped, boundary etched in stone. Winter thawed slow, trust regrowing tender shoots. One night, snow blanketing quiet, she knelt again, not proposal but plea. Let me earn it back. I pulled her up, kiss tentative, then deepening, bodies remembering what minds forgot. Spring bloomed forgiveness, but scars teach. Betrayal's not just act, but echo of insecurities unchained. We held tighter, hands visible, vows renewed in whispers. Society's judgments paled. Our mirror mended crooked, reflecting humans flawed, fierce, forever gripping. By summer solstice, Juliet's second book whispered of falls and risings, dedication unchanged. Launch night, her eyes found mine across the crowd. To the grip that saves. We walked home, linked, city humming approval. Betrayal's storm passed. In its wake, love stood unbowed, human in its bend. Tanvio came not in thunder, but in the quiet shatter of dawn, light on shattered glass. Juliet's chapbook proofs scattered across the loft floor. Pages torn in a fit she'd blame on frustration later, but we both knew was fracture. It was March, Pittsburgh's thaw mocking the freeze between us, 2 months after Lena's shadow had crept in and out, leaving frost on our sills. I'd woken to the mess, her silhouette hunched by the window, cigarette burning forgotten between fingers, ash dusting the sill like fallout. Can't write, she muttered as I knelt to gather pages, words blurring under coffee rings. Grip eternal. Irony's cruel title, poems meant to men now mangled. Her eyes when they met mine were hollowed caves, the poet drained dry. What's the point? Words lie. Like I did. Weed-patched post-betrayal. Therapy's glue holding cracks, but seems strained under winter's weight. Her book delays, my overtime grudges, silences thickening like fog off the point. It's not lying, I said, stacking sheets, careful voice, steady lie. It's trying. But her laugh barked hollow. Trying's for amateurs. We're pros at breaking. That morning set the tempo. Arguments igniting over toast crumbs, her snapping at my fix-it mode. Me retreating to the mill where fire purified better than words. Friends noticed. Dinners dodged. Texts unanswered. Space, she claimed. Crashing at the bookstore's back room during revisions. I let her pride's poison, the loft echoing empty with her absence. April rains mirrored the seep, her calls sparse, voice edged with strain. "Mom's worse," she'd say, another trip south booked. Monroe pulled relentless, her father's recovery fragile, garden untended, legacy's leash yanking. She returned each time wearier, suitcase heavier with ghosts. A quilt from childhood, Daddy's watch ticking accusations. "They need me," she'd justify, unpacking in the dim. But nights she'd curl away back a barrier. "Feel like I'm splitting, half here, half there." I pushed back gentle at first. "We're the half that matters." But gentleness wore thin, eroded by her drifts. Eyes distant over dinner, poems abandoned mid-line. One eve, storm raging, I found her laptop open to emails. Harlan's firm offering consult gigs. For old times. No replies, but the temptation lingered, digital sirens call. Confrontation brewed that Friday, me home early with takeout tie. Her late from a reading. Door swung and there she stood, rain-soaked, Lena's scarf loose around her neck, scent of bourbon and betrayal faint. "Collab drink," she stammered, but eyes skittered. The fight erupted. Her again? After promises. Plates crashed, pad thai splattering like blood. She hurled back. "And you?" Clinging like Monroe's chains. "I need air, Brielle, not another cage." Words eviscerated, my northern control, her southern flight. "You gripped her first." I roared, old wound gaping. She recoiled. "And let go." "But you won't let me breathe." Door slammed. She stormed the stairs, leaving silence thicker than rage. Days dissolved to détente, her futon nights resuming, our talks civil as strangers. Therapy fractured too. Counselor pausing sessions. Heal alone first. Juliet dove deeper into work. Book tour scouts circling. Escape veiled as ambition. I welded longer, sparks flying like unshed tears. Crewmates' jokes glancing off my armor. May bloomed betrayal's bloom. Her announcement over cold cereal. Tour starts June. 3 months. East Coast. Cities listed like indictments. NYC, Boston, Charleston, Monroe adjacent. "Space to write," she said, eyes on bowl. Heart plummeted. "From us." She shrugged, defeated. "From everything. I'm drowning, Brie. In us, in me." Packing that week was ritual slow, her folding sundresses scented with river mud. Me silent in corners, folding memories like laundry. Last night, loft stripped bare, we sat cross-legged on the floor, wine bottle passing. "Remember the spur?" she whispered, thumb tracing my palm absent. Held on because I had to let go of everything else. "And now?" Voice cracked mine. She leaned head on knee, tears silent. "Now I let go to hold on. Or lose both." Kiss goodbye lingered, salt tanged, bodies pressing desperate, one last map. Dawn cab idled, she hugged fierce. "Call. Please." Door shut. Taillights bled red into rain-slick streets. Tanvio settled bone deep. Loft echoed accusations. Unpacked boxes mocking union, bed vast as oceans. Friends rallied. Dinners where I picked at plates, laughter forced. "Give her rope," they urged. But rope phrase and hers did. Text daily at first. NYC Electric, miss your coffee. Fading to weekly, then sporadic. Charleston rains like home. Thinking. June crawled, mill heat mirroring inner forge. Dreams plagued. Her hand in Lena's, Harlan's ring refitted, me gripping air. Work faltered, weld sloppy, foreman pulling me aside. "Harlan, focus kid." Names echo chilled. I nodded, but focus fled to riverside benches, sketching bridges burned. Mid-July, crisis crested. Her call at 2 a.m., voice slurred panic. "Daddy's gone. Hard again. Come." Flight booked frantic, Pittsburgh to Atlanta red eye. Landing to rental whip through downpours. Monroe greeted grim. Harlan house draped black. Kin huddled like wilted azaleas. Juliet there, hollowed, sundress wilted. Eyes shadowed as the wakes murmur. Funeral blurred. Eulogies droning legacy. Mill hands toasting the man who chained them to dreams deferred. She clung through it. Hand in mine under the casket spray. Grip white-knuckled echo of that first night. Reception after, aunts circling. "Stay, girl. Family needs." Harlan lurked corner, condolences crisp. Eyes lingering too long on her grief. Graveyard twilight we walked alone. Clay red under heels, epitaphs whispering warnings. He forgave, she said, voice threadbare. Said love you like he couldn't me. Tears broke then, her collapsing against stone, sobs heaving earth. I held rain mingling, whispering, shoo, I've got you. Return north fractured further, her tour resuming to honor. But calls rarer, voice distant as wires. August scorched isolation. I moved boxes to storage, loft lease sublet, crashing cousin's couch. Temporary. I lied to mirrors, but mirrors mock. September's equinox brought the shatter's core. Email from her agent. Juliet extending tour. Personal reasons. Attached itinerary. Dates bleeding into fall. Charleston bolded, Harlan City. Heart iced, I called, voicemail swallowing plea. Come home. Or tell me it's over. Silence answered, weeks till package arrived. Our rings wrapped in draft poem. Slips become straights. Grips loosen to flights. Note scrawled. Need to find me again. Forgive the fall. Tanvio complete. I shattered then, plate hurled, sobs racking till dawn. Friends found me curled, pulling strings. Intervention coffee where truth spilled. She ran from herself, one said. Not you. October winds howled loss. I walked rivers alone, hand empty, tracing phantom holds. Therapy solo now. Grieve the grip but not the self. Poems came hesitant, mind scribbled on napkins. Hands unclasped to heal. Storms passed to clear. November's chill mirrored numbness. Holidays loomed solitary. But awakening flickered. Mill promotion offered. Lead crew future forged. I took it, torch steadying hand. Then her call. Thanksgiving Eve voice cracked porcelain. I'm lost, Bree. Tour's hollow. Daddy's gone but ghosts linger. Come get me. Location. A Charleston B&B neutral ground. Flight south trembled resolve. She waited lobby, thinner eyes searching. Embrace tentative then tight bodies remembering. I slipped again. She confessed over chicory coffee. Not Lena me. Chasing validation in crowds in past. But home's you. Words hung heavy. Can I trust? She nodded, tears pooling. Earn it. Again. Return was renegotiation. Her tour cut. Book unfinished but soul mending. Loft reclaimed, hands relearning holds slow, deliberate. Tanvio's wake. Deeper roots, fragile but fierce. Society watched amused, queer love's drama fodder, but we turned inward, human in humility. Grip renewed, not desperate but chosen daily. Storms break to rebuild. Love in fragments gleams truest. Jai Thode arrived not as thunderclap revelation, but as the soft click of a door long jammed. Juliet's notebook snapping shut on a crisp December morning. 2 years after the shatter, Pittsburgh's first snow dusting the fire escape like tentative peace. We'd rebuilt brick by brick. Her book shelved unfinished, tour ghosts exorcised through ink and ink-stained nights. My mill hands callous thicker, welding not just steel but resolve. Therapy evolved to tandem walks. Riverside paths where words flowed freer than the Allegheny, dissecting fractures till they formed mosaics. That morning she slid the notebook across breakfast bar. Eyes alight rare as dawn through smog. Read the end. Pages whispered under fingers. Final poem unheld, verses of release. Hands opening not to loss but to air's embrace. It's done, she said, voice steady him. Not perfect. But mine. Celebration was simple. Diner pancakes drowning in syrup, her laughter bubbling unforced, my hand over hers open on formica. No shadows beneath. What's next? I asked, fork pausing. She grinned, syrup sweet. Us? Unscripted. Winter wove warmth from cold. Holidays reclaimed, tree strung with mill scraps and river stones. Her mother's locket centerpiece. We hosted queer kin and softened aunts, tables groaning eclectic. Collards beside Hulusky, toasts to grips enduring. Juliet read from the notebook post-dinner, voice carrying unheld's grace. We fall to rise, unclasped to reclaim. Applause mingled tears, an aunt pulled me aside. She's blooming. You both. Spring unfurled opportunity. Her agent circling back, small press interested in the manuscript. Raw edges intact. Readings resumed local, crowds intimate. Her presence magnetic sans performance. One night, post-slam in Shadyside, a fan approached shy. Your words saved my coming out. Juliet's eyes welled. Mine met hers across the bar, silent vow. We save each other. Summer's heat-tested temper. Mill strike loom, tensions flaring shifts, my temper short-fused. Juliet anchored. Poems left on lockers breathe the forge. Nights we'd drive to Moraine, lakeside bonfires chasing industrial ash, her head on shoulder. Your fire tamer. Intimacy reignited slow. Bodies relearning trust's terrain. Touches lingering like lyrics. Conflict crested August. Offer from Emory. Guest lecturer, Southern Lit chair. Pull of alma mater and mended roots. 6 months, she framed, eyes pleading balance. Old fears flared, Monroe's magnet but growth tempers. Go. We'll bridge it. She did, duffel light this time, text daily maps. Campus blooms like forgiveness. Visits wove weekends, me southbound, her north, hands clasping across state lines. Charleston detour once, Harlan's firm a distant spire. She laughed past it. Ghost town. Fall's palette painted progress. Her lectures lauded, book accepted, grips and ghosts. Cover scarred oak sketched. Launch duel, Atlanta first, kin tentative in pews turn folding chairs. Pittsburgh after loft packed roaring. Readings cross divides. Southern drawl softening northern bite. Poems bridging, she said, straight echoes to unheld truths. Thanksgiving southbound, her mother's garden revived. Azaleas defiant, her hands reclaiming soil. Daddy'd approve, Juliet mused, trowel pausing. We planted bulbs together, roots for futures, her whisper. This ground holds now, not chains. Winter solstice marked milestone. 5 years since the spur. Anniversary quiet. Rusty replica dinner at home. Hands under table, deliberate ritual. Still straight. I teased, thumb circling palm. She leaned across, candle flicker. Straighter to you. Laughter dissolved to kiss, deepening promise. Awakening deep in human. Society's gaze shifted. From scandal to story. A local mag profile from taboo to taproot. Interviews raw. Juliet on phases as paths, me on grips as graces. Comments trickled, trolls drowned in truths, but impact rippled. Emails from small-town queers. Your hold inspired mine. Spring birthed bold. Her tenure track offer us debating roots. Pittsburgh steel song, Atlanta's river hum. Hybrid, we plotted, split years, hands never far. Summer sealed with ink. Adoption papers drafted. Names shortlisted for the family we'd forge. Crisis cameo fall. Mill closure threat, layoffs looming. I fought, union rallies, torches lit literal, Juliet rallying words. Op-ed forge of futures. Town hall victory, narrow jobs held. Homecoming, hers arms open. My welder. December close circle. Book tour mini, cities strung like beads, us tandem, her reading, me Q&A tag team. Final stop, Monroe's indie shop. Brave incursion, locals filling seats wary to warm. She read, she said, voice threading past to present. Grip wasn't end, it was beginning. Q&A hushed. A mill hand's wife voice quaver. Helped my girl come out. Juliet's nod, my hand squeeze. Human threads weaving wider. Jai Thote's essence. Not erasure of scars but embroidery. Betrayals beaded into beauty, tan VO textured tapestries. We held evolved. Hands linked in light, grips gentle as gospels. New Year's Eve, fire escape perch, city fireworks blooming defiant, she turned. Thank you for not letting go. I pulled close, breath mingling frost. Thank you for coming back. Love's arc. Kitsch tin to calm. K-dang sweetened by time. X-Ahoy's chains chafed to choices. Nan Van's core. Flawed souls stumbling to solidarity. Kat Vong Tu Du fulfilled in Trung Tana's quiet fire. In America's bend south to north straight to true we gripped, released, reclaimed. Eternal human whole.